Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is William Medina. God bless you and welcome. This is a call to order, meeting of the Policy and Personnel Committee. Today is Wednesday, October 8th, 2025. It is now 5:31. We're here at City Hall in Conference Room 305, 45 Lyon Terrace. With us is Board Committee Member Joseph Sakalovic. Online, I see Ms. Marissa Estremera Jimenez. Here with us also is Board Member Robert Traver and Mr. I'm trying to look for it, Albert Benaham Grajales. And we have the superintendent here and some of his cabinet here with us. So first item for in our agenda is approval of minutes dated for the special meeting, September 16, 2025. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from September 16, 2025.
Second.
A motion properly second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That passes unanimous. Next item, number 2 is discussion and possible development of the following policies, and we have A through K. And I believe the superintendent wanted to share something with us, so I'm gonna leave.
Just to share, I had a visit with my executive cabinet this morning, and we would like for you to consider tabling item A, B, C, and G. In order for us to have a little bit more time to kind of figure exactly how and what we need to do as we collaborate together to change those policies. So if you could consider that, we would be appreciative.
Do I hear a motion? Hearing done, we will
Repeat again with the nine.
absolutely. That was A, B, C. And number 2 and letter G. So there was 4 there. Hearing the motion, we'll move forward. A is contract language as proposed in the March 2025. Ms. Jimenez?
Thank you. Let me turn on my mic. So what I'd like to propose from the team here is that instead of going through these items 2 through K, A through K, that we bundle them based on policies just to make this conversation more cohesive rather than jumping around, because some of these items do touch multiple, the same policy.
Okay,
So-
can you identify the ones you want to bundle? We can bring them forward.
Yep. So my motion is I would like to bundle items to B, E, H, and J to be discussed during the committee policy. Item D to be spoken with the public meetings and executive session policy 9150. Items F and 4B to be spoken in the meeting conduct policy. Item I to be spoken through in the construction and posting of agenda policy 9130. And then lastly, item K to be spoken in the public hearings policy 9190.
So moved. You have those listed, so we're gonna have you lead with those. Do I hear a second? That way we can start this discussion.
I'm kind of confused about the bundling.
Ms. Jimenez, would you like to discuss the bundling the way you?
I know the similar, but there's some are separate and distinct policies, are they not?
So, great question, Joe. So the majority of these items are actually part of our bylaws, there's only two items that are completely separate policies. And that would be the lottery and the procurement policy. So that is completely separate than our policies, and we should handle them as such. So if you're looking at items B, E, H, and J, those items are all addressed in our committee policies. So that's why I'm proposing to bundle them like in that manner so that we can talk about all the changes at once rather than going back and forth.
Michelle,
Yes. Go.
we just get the numbers of those,
And that you mean,
no, the numbers of the policies for the committee policies.
Yes, I can. The committee policy, I think it's not 9280. Let me just double check. Yep, committee policy is 9280.
Thank you.
And that is for B, E, H, and J, correct?
B, E, H, and J, correct.
Yes. Mr. Trader. And also, I would like to welcome, Mr. Andrew Woodson that's online before I recognize Mr. Trader, please.
Did we act on the original motion to table?
there was no motion.
There was no motion made.
Okay, the superintendent asked the committee to table.
And the committee didn't come alive. First,
And there was no motion. It was a recommendation. There was no motion.
Okay, that's what I was asking. Did we act on that request? We did not.
There was no motion made.
So we're then moved on. Okay, thank you. I was confused when we immediately moved to other business and so,
yes, I'm still struggling.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm still struggling with group of the deed. You mean discussing the changes that are embedded in different policies at the same time? Because that seems like it might be a little bit more cumbersome than tackling them one by one within the same groupings.
So
I'm trying to
item,
be difficult with the idea. It's kind of.
no, I get what you're trying to say, Joe. So there's not any separate policy. So for example, item B, Finance Committee to approve all financial transfers over $25,000. That's a new thing, and outside, it's not stated in any other bylaw. So what I did was, which is completely up for discussion, in the committee's policy where we're identifying the financial roles and responsibilities of the superintendent and the committee, that's where I put it in. So that's how the bundling took place. So that is for item B. For item E, make calendar requirements for all the subcommittees. I added that as well as part of this committee policy so that we have a calendar for each of the committees. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I get where you're going. I'm pretty sure now, pretty sure I know where you're going. So you want to start with the broadest policy and pull in the smaller pieces into it.
Exactly. Because it truly doesn't make sense to have these like one-offs to be its own policy.
And then in that case, was it seconded? Was there a second? Holy,
Yes, you did.
oh, well, if there wasn't, then. I guess the second, and then we can vote on.
So now we'll vote, Mr. Jimenez, on your motion he seconded and making sure that it's on the record that it was seconded to put those together. So B, E, H, and J is going to be discussed now under policy 9280. So we'll start with that discussion now.
Very good. So in the
Correct?
board,
No, I just want to say correct.
yes. Yep.
Okay, so all in favor, let's vote on that now. That way we're moving them forward. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. So now we're gonna be on the item B. E, H, and J. So Finance Committee to approve all financial transfers over 25K. And then so on. You can
Yep.
start speaking on those.
So, so just want to preface the committee policy by saying, yes, B, E, H, and J are included in this, but then we also had a meeting with CABE September 30th, and their edits were also incorporated in this. I will say I had a conversation with Jody from CABE as well. Yesterday, we had a very good discussion. He sent around edits that he wants incorporated into this around lunchtime today. I did not have a chance to incorporate that, so just noting additional changes will be required to this policy. My intent is to gather the group's changes during today's meeting, and then I'll collectively make all the edits at once. So the major changes with this policy is that we're clearly identifying what a special committee is, what a standing committee is, and we're also clearly identifying that board members that attend a committee meeting do not have voting rights, and from now on, whenever this passes, if this stays in there, they will be able to speak during public comment. So we're incorporating public comment into the committee meetings as well. And that was a suggestion that was requested by CABE. And the most important part of this committee is that we're creating what I would say subsets to the policy, and we're explicitly stating what each committee will be doing. So out of last week's meeting, we and it was confirmed that we should bundle up finance and facilities to call it the operations committee. So I incorporated that change as long as no long-term changes, facilities changes are part of that. That would be its own special meeting. It clearly articulates what the function of instruction and support services committee and policy committees are as well. And then we're also stating that the personnel committee is a meeting of the whole and a special meeting as well. And that kind of summarizes all the changes that have taken place in this policy. And I will say, out of all the policies that or bylaws that we're going to be chatting about, this one is probably the most important. And last but not least, I did get input from CABE as well that our roles and responsibilities should be split up between what the superintendent and his cabinet is responsible for versus what the board or that specific committee is responsible for.
Chair,
I think we have, yep.
I'm a little confused on the interpretation of Ms. Jimenez as how she presented it, that these came from CABE. I want to go on the record that I disagree with that. And so we can agree to disagree, but I want to go publicly on notice saying that I'm not in agreement with some of the things that was proposed. When you group these items together, when you talk about, again, I know we're balancing between, each policy and, having things approved by the committee and then move to the full board. The 3 committee members don't have the authority to approve anything. It's a recommendation, but the language that's being presented to me is that committee is going to approve something. Again,
No.
maybe it's just like your interpretation, my interpretation is a little different. And I just want to make sure that, this committee, you got to understand that I'm going to disagree if I feel that it hinders the work of the administration. And when you tighten the belt on how we do business, we won't be able to do business because we always have to come back and convene with the committee. The committee doesn't work every single day, and that's going to hinder the work that we do. So, I mean, we can have a deep conversation. We can be here to midnight if we need to be. I'm going to disagree because I feel that it's pulling the authority of the administration and doing these. This is the first beginning of it. But when you dive deeper into these policies, you know, it's troubling to me as the school superintendent to be able to do our work. We've had a deeper discussion with my staff, and we won't be able to do anything. Every step we have to give a step. We have to go backwards a step to let the board approve something. That's just not the way we do business. And so I just want to, again, go on the record to say, and I won't say anything the rest of this meeting. You can change and do what you need to, but I asked the committee to table some things because we still are very unclear of what you're trying to do. You know, our interpretation, my interpretation is not in the best interest of this district. And so I've reached out to the school attorneys to try to make sure that I'm clear. I'm trying to understand, you know, what CAVE has, the guidance that CAVE has given the board and has given me. And right now we're way far apart. So just approving it through the committee, I'll get in front of the full board and I'll state my same, you know, issues that I have with it in order for the full board to make that final decision. But part of a committee is where we work together to try to get the clarity that we need on each of these policies. Some of them are needed, and I left a whole slew of them because I want the board to make some final decisions. But some of them where I felt that we don't have enough time in the day to really flush them out, I can't agree to anything because I think it's going to hinder the work that we're doing. And again, I just want to go on statements saying I have issues with things, and I just don't know how we're going to be able to do any work, you know, and that is where I am. And again, I will, you know, refer back to the board, to the committee chair, and we'll just kind of have to get what we can get from you guys, and we'll go from there.
Thank you. I see a few hands. I'll acknowledge you guys in a second. I see the two. Just want to make sure that right now the only one that I see that was suggested to be put on hold that we're discussing at this very moment that Ms. Jimenez mentioned is only the finance committee to approve all finance, and this is what it's titled. Nothing is being approved at this committee meeting. Again, this is not what we do in committee. In committee, we discuss and we possibly develop something to move it to the full board. So right now, this is all the discussion. Nothing is being pushed to the full board. This is staying right here, right now, because this is how it is formulated and formatted for a discussion and possible development of these policies. So I want to make sure everybody understands that that's where we are right now. So contrary to what Dr. Avery just said, we're not trying to make any decisions here. We're trying to have these discussions to possibly develop these things. That way we can send them over and make another meeting. And eventually this is going to have to become another meeting once we fine tune whichever ones together. Like right now, Mr. Medicine got B, E, H, and J, which is under the 9280 policy, to find out how do we incorporate these things in there. That way we can make that suggestion and then move it to the full board. So I want to make sure everybody understands the format that this is actually written. And what I mean formatted and written is this agenda. So this is only a discussion for a possible development, meaning we're developing, we're getting our minds all together. Nothing is being pushed to the full board today in these matters in item number 2. Mr. Sakala.
Yeah, okay, a couple of things. I agree with the superintendent and disagree with the superintendent. I agree with Ms. Jimenez and I disagree with Ms. Jimenez on a couple of different points. Definitely can't be, we're definitely aware that we can't pretty sure we're all aware that we can approve it at a committee level. There's language stuck in somewhere that says approve rather than review. I mean, we should definitely be reviewing, you know. As far as moving on to the full board, the committee, to my recollection, never voted to merge the two committees of finance and facilities. And in my mind, I think that's a very horrible idea. It was a mistake when we did it the first time, and it'll be a mistake to do it a second time. It was reversed because there was too much work on both of them. So I'm definitely against that idea. We can discuss that a little more. I just want to give you a 500-foot overview first of what I'm thinking. Second, some of the stuff already exists. We sat down with Cabe, and Cabe told us, not Cabe, I'm sorry, the state, we should be reviewing and approving line item transfers. I don't recall if they put a number on it or not, but that's our purview. If we give Mr. Unquo and Dr. Avery to give Mr. Unquo marching orders to do something in the budget, and you got X amount of dollars in each bucket. If he messes with any of those buckets and moves it from one line to another, he needs to bring that to the board for review, and the natural place for it to come first would be his finance, unless it's something really, really pressing that needs to be done fast. Then you skip off to the full board. And that's something that's already supposed to be done. We as a board traditionally, in the last few years especially, dropped the ball. Boom, end of line. If we as a board, we don't stay on top of it and we say, okay, it's a one-time thing, we don't say, we're gonna use an example, we haven't done it, Dr. Avery. Dr. Avery, I'm upset with this line item transfer that came. We approved $1 million on line A, and all of a sudden it's $1.2 million. Oh, we just had to move it because. That would be an unacceptable answer to the board because that usurps the board's authority to oversee the budget and to approve the line item transfers. I don't foresee any emergency situation unless you need to pay a fire department to put out an active fire on a building that we can't get together as a board and approve a line item transfer at a special meeting of some sort that if it's a pressing thing. So that's something that already exists right there. And so let's show you the lottery policy. We got to be careful with that because of the date. We're doing E, right? Calendar requires for the subcommittees. That one. Requirements only as good as its enforcement. We can say we're gonna meet every Wednesday, every third Wednesday. And we can still change it. We can put in there that we can put in the requirement. It doesn't matter because if somebody can't make a meeting, you don't have a quorum, it's gonna get canceled anyway, regardless of what the policy says. Nobody's gonna be able to make themselves available with a death in the family or a conflicting personal obligation that takes precedent over it, and there's no quorums. And I've seen that happen in the past, but everybody should be striving to make their meetings and scheduling them ahead of time. So maybe put in there, but just be aware that it's gonna be a policy without any teeth. And what do we, H? We get audited every year by the city. Like clockwork. And a forensic audit. I agree with it in spirit. I started calling for a forensic audit approximately 8 years ago when I first joined the board. Each and every year, each and every step. The reason it took so long to get is because they're very expensive. They're very, very costly. And I can see signs where we got it. But to put in a policy every 5 years, maybe just drop. As requested, because we could already do that. I could ask for the next finance agenda to have, let's do an audit. Let's do a forensic audit without it being, that's already a power that's imbued with us. It's just explicitly stating a power that we got as a board to call for that. And it's a power we got to use wisely. And policies should be ordered on a yearly basis for updates. I'm not sure. I think there's something, I think it's biannually now, that is on a rotating basis between the series. There's something embedded somewhere. I can't call it out right now, but there is. Not sure if it's a policy or procedure. I'll find it later and forward it. When my mind's a little clearer. And the roles and responsibilities of the superintendent and board that also exists somewhere in our voluminous policies, procedures, and
Is it policy or is it
it's in
bylaws?
that would be policy.
Right,
There's a policy, it's embedded in as well.
but you guys are requesting to move that into bylaws, and I'm not governed by bylaws, board is. And so policy gives me the authority and it outlines what the responsibilities of the superintendent is. And it's based on the superintendent's certification abilities. That's why it's in policy. Bylaws don't really, I don't adhere to bylaws. That's the work of the board to help you, fine tune the work of the board as a whole. The policy is for us to run the district. And so, and that's where things are getting a little muddy.
We both mentioned in the policy, not the bylaw. I'm pretty sure it's a policy. Because it's not embedded in the bylaw.
So is it through the chair?
Please, go ahead.
So what you have is the 9280 that defines what each committee is responsible for. So this would be, if you choose to pass it through the full board, this would be a board bylaw 9280 that would define each committee. And you have in here that you have the operations committee, so you would want to look at that again. And then under each committee, you have the superintendent's roles and responsibilities, and then the committee's role and responsibilities. So I think what Dr. Avery is saying is having superintendent roles and responsibilities as part of a board bylaw seems to not mesh with what the bylaws are, which the bylaws are for the elected board members, how to run. The superintendent's not an elected board member. I know the policies you're referring to is when it says, the superintendent shall do,
Yes.
as part of,
It's like.
but for these policies, if you want each committee set up under this 9280 and define the roles and responsibilities of the committees, that should probably be for the elected board members on those committees, and maybe think about taking the superintendent piece out of these and just defining what each committee member should do on that committee as part of your bylaws, because like Dr. Adu said, the bylaws govern the elected board members, not so much the superintendent. And, if you wanted not to have the finance and facilities committee together in operations, then if you want to have a policy that defines each committee, then that's something for you guys to discuss and figure out how you want each committee there. But I think there is a CAVE document that defines superintendent's roles and responsibilities and board. That might not necessarily be a policy, that might just be a general guidelines for boards and superintendents. But I think you have a lot in here, and I think that's why, the idea of bundling these, because there are things like, for instance, the finance committee approves anything over $25,000. So that's part of the finance committee's roles and responsibilities, which we're saying if we had some more time, we could look at, should that be a full board responsibility rather than the finance committee to approve the 25,000. So it's things like that. Like if we had a little more time to kind of go through this.
Chair, that was the reason why I wanted to kind of pause those four so that we just took what you guys recommended to us and we reviewed them. And when you read what you provided us, it doesn't make sense to me as a superintendent, because it says that when you look at the finance committee, you approve things in the written documents that was provided to me. So that's why it was just so fuzzy that I just couldn't make good sense of it. And I just needed more time to really understand exactly what you're really wanting, and we hadn't had a chance to really do that. And that was the only reason for pausing. We don't want you guys, you're gonna do what you want to do, that's fine. But it just helps us to help the district to do the work. And that's all I'm trying to kind of get the clarity on is there is a lot. If you look at what you get, there's a lot, and it's just hard for us to really go through line by line and figure it all out. So that's really my only, hesitation.
All right, and what you just mentioned now and pointed out in the reading is the reason why we should be discussing it at a committee level, even though the
Yeah.
conversation is hard, because right now I can offer a motion to change within the whole entire document, anywhere the word approve appears to be replaced with review and refer the full board.
Sure.
Because that's actually more in line with our rules.
Yes, I agree. Yes. But that's the conversation that I needed to have. So,
Yes,
He's on the committee, I'm next.
sorry, go on. Go ahead, Mr. Chamber.
No, she's ahead of me.
Go ahead, Mr. Chamber.
Okay. I thought committee people went first. Okay, I think that's what we're doing, though. The problem is, as I hear it, you got a whole bunch and you want to review it. But part of what this discussion is doing is elaborating and discussing on what it is we're seeking. So I just hear that in this discussion. So you just clarified one point in that last exchange of sentences, if you will, as to that you need to hear clarified to understand better. Another point, just for my own edification, is it says here in item E, make calendar requirements for the subcommittees. Are we still confusing subcommittees here? Based on last week's meeting, we don't have subcommittees.
Correct.
So we're talking about committees here, right?
Yes, we just.
I assume that was the case,
This was,
but I see in still subcommittees from, I assume, our language a month ago, when it was on the agenda a month ago. So, okay, I'm just, again.
I just
So
want to
we're
let you know why I came
cleaning
up.
things up. And I heard the discussion on financial transfers. So those were just a couple of quick questions by me. I think that's all I want to talk about right now. I have another item I want to get to clarify our intent. But
Thank you.
that's what we're trying to do, is just clarify intent, since this is just discussion.
Thank you. This was part of the meeting that was not held up, that we had the 16th and we
I remember.
postponed it. And we were gonna have the meeting the 30th, but then we had the other meeting on the 30th. So that's why it just stayed the same. We just moved it forward the same way, but we should have caught
Just
that.
want to clarify.
I agree with you without, I had a problem. Ms. Jimenez, please.
So I wanted to clarify a few things. First of all, I didn't say CABE made all these recommendations because they did not. They made some of the recommendations. Specifically. They wanted, when they saw this, they wanted split up. Initially, I had all the responsibilities bundled up, and for the sake of clarity, they wanted to make sure that we weren't creating further fuzziness with what the superintendent's work is versus the board's work. So I can certainly jot that down. That was something Jody actually referenced during our call yesterday. So the intent really is to not have board members investigating or developing specific type of material that is your job, Dr. Avery. So that's why we were trying to build specific kind of boundaries of what superintendent is specific to these committees, what you're responsible for, what we should be responsible for. So just wanted to make that clear. And then also just to kind of piggyback on what Mr. Sakalovic said, this is our first time talking about this. So if there's any ambiguity as part of any of these items, now's the time to talk about it. We've already postponed these items twice already. So this is just a collaborative effort And certainly the committees don't have any approval process, any approval of anything. The responsibility is to refer to the full board for approval, with the exception of that financing option of the transfers over $25,000. And the reason for the $25,000 figure is because um there was no suggestions made previously, but I do know that the board on any type of contract approval, anything that's over $25,000, the board has to approve it. So I'm repurposing that dollar value there. So that's where that $25,000 comes from. So that's my piece. If there's any other questions of where something came from or anything like that, feel free to ask. And, we'll obviously, this is a collaborative effort, make the changes that you guys want in here. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. I see you here, Mr. Traver. And in light of being transparent, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that it came to my knowledge through the workshop that we had, that there has been a document out there shared with some and not all, that I think has been muddying these conversations. And I know you've been having these things referred to this committee for some time, like you mentioned, it's been, held back a little bit and postponed. But there is a document. One second, Mr. Woodson. I see your hand, sir. After Mr. Traver. But there is a document that's out there that I'm trying to get my hands on, that's been discussed on this table right now by multiple individuals. So I want to make sure that we all can get our hands on that document, that we can all, use that and see how we can apply it if we see fit. And it had to do with, putting together the roles and responsibilities of each committee and all that stuff, which was mentioned in the workshop, but we've never seen it. And I'm waiting for Mr. Jody to try to share that with me, that way we can all have it and see it. So that's what I want to say as far as, being transparent. There's something out there that not all of us have, and we should all have it. Mr. Traver.
Yes, in regard to the substance of this discussion, one, the language that says that non-committee members will speak during public comment, I don't agree with. I don't agree with this concept of there being a public comment section, and I don't agree with the concept that that's when we can speak. We have long held that the chair controls the meeting and the chair will allow us to speak, as you've just done with me. And I think that's the way we should continue. Members of the committee speak first, and then non-members of the committee are allowed by the chair to speak after the members of the committee in a rotation. And I think that format has worked for us and shall continue to work for us. I think we want to clarify that in the bylaws.
That's what I was suggesting.
And we need to clean that up. We tried 2 years ago and it didn't work. We want to clean that up, but I think that needs to be cleaned up in the bylaws and not changed completely to have a public speaking format in the committee meeting. I think that it was discussed last week that some committees in the past have allowed the public to speak. I think that sort of informality that would allow the chair to do that is an acceptable thing, and we might want to put that in the bylaws. That is the chair has the authority to allow non-members to participate in a meeting, recognizing that authority or giving the chair the authority to do that, as we have done in the past, would be also another item to put into the bylaws appropriately, and enabling the chair to do that. So those are my two opinions, or my two bits on those things. I would disagree on the taking the superintendent out of the bylaws. And here's why I would say it is just looking at 9280, which just disappeared on me on my screen. Anyway, 9280 made reference to the superintendent is going to send out a notice of the committee meeting to the entire board, not just the members of that committee. We had a problem with that more recently. And so I would rather that stay in there to make clear that the superintendent shall do that. Now, we didn't have that problem with Dr. Avery, obviously, but we want to make it clear that certain things are going to be done by the superintendent. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean he's going to do it himself, but he's going to make sure that happens, as Dr. Avery has been doing. But we want to make sure that certain things are going to be done, and they're referenced in there. The posting of the bylaws has been a problem over the last 3 years. And so we want to make sure that that's there, that the bylaws are going to be posted for the public. And that should be done. So those sorts of things should still be left in the bylaws to make clear what obligations the superintendent does as the employee that the board deals with. So I think we want to make sure that we, I heard your point about not overburdening or overdoing it in the bylaws, but there are some things that are appropriately referenced in the bylaws as defining what duties the superintendent has that are enabling the board to function, if you will, and that need to be mentioned in the bylaws.
If I can, I'll get you right now. And Mr. Wickett, I still got you if you do need to raise your hand. But I think that's the point that we want to get to, Mr. Trevor, and the point of, we were silenced, a couple of years ago, about 2 years ago, and we want to make sure that all members, so that's what we want to implement, what you said, to find out how can we put in our policies that in committee, that all board members will be recognized. They have an option right now, I guess, the board chair to recognize or not. And we want to take that power away from them because we want to make sure all members have. And I think that's what Kate was mentioning through the workshop, that they had a section, I guess, that, that they should be speaking, in their opinion, was that they should be speaking as public in those committee meetings. And it was something that we can agree, disagree.
Just I love and respect them. This was an area that I disagreed with them.
No, absolutely. So did I.
Our way, I like the way we've been doing it, and I think we need to tighten it up and clean it up so that it's clear.
Exactly. We want to strengthen it. And I think one of the ways of doing it possibly, and I know people are taking notes, is maybe through committees that the BOE members will be acknowledged, and recognized to speak in any other committee members as so.
It's an easy fix in my view.
I believe so.
We almost
So
did 2 years.
that's what we want to do.
ago, And it failed to pass.
That's what we want to do.
Great job.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, if you do want.
No, he put his hands down, so I want to make sure.
Yeah, just to clarify, I think it might help just to read what you have now in 9280 concerning the board members' participation. So right now it reads, while board members may attend meeting of committees they are not a member of, they shall not participate or vote as a member of such a committee and shall not participate or be present in portions of committee meetings held in executive session. Notwithstanding, the committee chair may recognize them to speak in the portions of the meetings open to the public. That's what you have now. That was as in 2019.
That's correct. That's number 4.
And then the proposed change would be, while board members may attend meetings of committees they are not a member of, they shall not participate or vote as a member of such committee, and shall not participate or be present in portions of committee meetings held in executive session. Notwithstanding, the committee chair shall recognize them to speak in the portions of meeting open to the public.
Okay.
So the changing of may to shall is more of that directive.
Yeah,
So,
But it's good and have to get deeper. Like I said, this is only,
right.
I want to make sure I emphasize it to everybody and the public in here. This is a discussion and possible development. So we're in this process to do it collaboratively also. But again, even that doesn't clearly, it only says it in one section, which is through public comment, and we don't want that. Because we had an issue before in the executive session where these things were happening, and we want to be more transparent and more unified as a board, covering ourselves now in the present and also in the future. So that's the one that we want to focus with Ms. Jimenez when we sit down again and discuss these things, especially that number 4 paragraph where we just read it here. And this is why also I mentioned to everyone before, when I became a board member, to sit down, like he just said, sit there and actually read it as a group and see where we are and see how do we develop those changes to the policies and or bylaws, to read it first, to come together and then have a discussion like this. And, next meeting that I will be having, you guys will all be informed that I will be opening it up a lot more in my committee to make sure we have a kind of like a round table. We don't have to wait for each other. We can actually share with each other. If it becomes messy, then we'll go back to, kind of like Robert's Rule of Order and recognize people. But I think we can sit down at the table together in this committee, especially to just have discussions and talk with each other and share what do we see as possible, especially when we want to make sure that we, respect everyone's role. We want to make things easy for all of us to move forward. So you had your hand raised.
Yeah. Mr. He says,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm so sorry. You just read Dr. Sam, I apologize.
okay.
I apologize for the doctor. Them which mishap.
That's what they did.
You just read the only difference is of changing the word may to shall. Which was the intention of last time it passed. I wanted to caution us as a committee, as a board, not to sacrifice the good in the search for the perfect. Because that one word change is very powerful. If we say, if we give all orders to Dr. Avery, I said he should do something. Hey, he said I should, not I have to. And he could perfectly legitimately have that answer. That's why the legislator, when they write laws, they're very careful in particular when they use the word should, shall, may, must. Word shall is not optional. You shall recognize the committee members. That still leaves open the chair being able to recognize anybody who wants to speak. If we got 5 people in the room that are members of the public and they raise their hands, I've done it before, Mr. Benahan's done it before, we've recognized them, but once you recognize them, you gotta give everybody the same opportunity to speak. And it could get out of control unless if you gotta use it discretionary. Or you can't cut somebody off because they're saying something you don't like when you just let somebody speak and say something that you do like. So that's up to each particular chairperson, whether they can control that kind of dynamic, but they haven't. They do it downstairs at the city council meeting. Every city council member sits at the table and they get to speak going around. Been legal for years, so there shouldn't be such a struggle just to change this one word from may to shall to get us to do what the city council has been doing for decades, what boards everywhere else has been doing for decades. And actually, the word may and shall hadn't been abused very recently. We're just trying to plug that hole. Well, actually, past, I think originally tried to change it because of a whole chair 5 years ago, but then things calmed down. I thought it would never happen again.
Well said, and I want to emphasize, he was emphasizing it, and it does clarify there, but then it doesn't clarify in the other areas, and that's what we want to do.
Of whole
Strengthen it.
separate policy.
To do the whole thing.
So-
Mr. Benny,
It is-
you finished? Go ahead.
No, just one more second. I just want to respond to that, Mr. Menendez. So we gotta change, this thing's like a ladder. We gotta change one thing at a time. We get that language changed, shall, may to shall. Boom, we got that. We put it up at the next level, wherever the heck it needs to be, that's not clear, is our advantage. But when you're looking at your committee members, you see when you're holding a committee meeting, committee chairs shall. Force over force.
Mr. Benny,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know we as a board member, we are 9 board members, we work together with everyone. Each one we work for the district. But I know we have one person that we talk and we discuss and was employed like February. We just said we have 9 bosses. But we work very close to him. The only thing I can say is we are us the board members, we are 9 board members elected because the district, because the people elect us, people trust us. Having like Mr. Sokolow saying that one person say something, even as I'm a board member, but I'm a part of the committee. Of course, you recognize me to say something. That doesn't mean people get upset with me because I say something and you committed. I know I have the voice, I have the vote, and I can go, talk, not in committed, but at least my concerns, what we're talking about. So you can, I'm not saying you listen to me, but at least people can understand, because people when outside, they see us, they say, and they come to me and they come to one of us, a board member. How come you cannot say something and then the committee, like, can you not talk about the committee? You're a board member, we elect, and that's what the people see that. So listen to, all of you and everything. And I respect everybody's decision and opinions and vote. But we have to understand that we are elected because the district is watching us. That's want to say that for the record. I hope I'm very clear what I said.
Thank you. Like the public knows, we are elected and we want to hear more from you guys in every step of the process. So you guys are welcome to come and meet with us, call us, email us. We're available to you guys, and we should be answering you guys whenever possible, and have discussions. So as long as it's not a quorum, we can meet and have discussions and, work things together. But definitely we want to make sure that this is why we want to do this. Some of this work now is we want to protect the voice of every single board member now in the present and in the future.
Well, I mean, I've been around city council, not that I'm comparing notes, but I tell you how they function and it worked flawlessly over the years. In summary, every committee has committee members. Other board members can attend the meeting. However, the committee members have preference of speaking first. Board members will be given the right to speak by the chair. Their own opinion, their own concern, their own view. They cannot vote. That's given, but they're entitled to express themselves and their concerns. The idea, something was mentioned about having board members speak during public hearing. To me, that's a no-no. Because if a board member speaks during public hearing, the committee members do not respond to any comment made during public hearing. You just hear, you don't respond. So what it means, you are ignoring your own board member who just spoke in public hearing. Because you're not even entertaining, you just heard what they said, you can't even respond to them while you're doing what they're doing. So that idea of having board members speak during public hearing, to me, should be a no-no.
I apologize. I don't think anybody said the word public hearing. The way it was written, it's written in the,
No, it was.
it's public comment.
It was.
Yeah, he's just calling it something different. He's right.
Yeah, but a hearing is.
When you make a public comment at the city
Words
council.
matter.
Yeah.
Well,
When you
Words
make a
matter.
public
Hearing is
comment,
something
I
different.
hear you. But it's the same point. We do not respond to public comments at our meetings.
all public comments, public hearing.
Yeah, we do not respond to public comments.
Yeah, never.
He's correct about that.
So,
He
Absolutely.
just
but
missed.
if you have a board member kind of talk during public comment, it falls in the same trap as a regular
Public.
public.
And that's what we don't agree with.
We don't
We
want to
definitely,
do that.
we won't do that. I would love to see the language that the city uses, if there is a language.
No, they do.
They think so. I would love to see it. So
Okay, yeah.
you already got my hand. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure.
Ms. Jimenez, something on this topic just before we move forward?
Yeah, actually, I was raising my hand just to kind of attempt to move us forward.
Okay.
I will say I am taking notes and definitely noted what you just said, Nestor and Rob, about getting rid of the public comments thing. I did want to just ask everyone if they had any thoughts about the subsections for this policy, specifically for finance, facilities, the four policies. Did you see something that's glaring and that needs to be removed, or something that's missing?
In which one again?
So it's same policy, but wanting to know if you guys found something in the actual specific committees where we're identifying them, if something's missing or if there's something like grossly incorrect that needs to be fixed. So that would be in the subsections, instruction and support services committee, finance, facilities, and policy. So those are the subsections I'm referencing.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to touch up on that, Ms. Jimenez, when we identify what are the committees that we're gonna be establishing through the board. Because to go into them now, I think will be especially when I want to see that other document that I referenced before, that there is something out there that was shared that can probably give us some insight on, what should be in each one of those committee meetings. And I know we're trying to structure even that meeting, possibly combining some or not combining some and putting one as an IHOC committee or a committee of a whole. So once we identify all that, I think that's when we should put all these things in there, in my opinion. Yes.
We just wanted to make sure for your records going forward that, Dr. Avery before suggested, taking out all the additional, there's about 4 or 5 pages worth of new definitions of the committee to the policy. And Dr. Avery just wanted to note that maybe taking out the new language of superintendent roles and responsibilities, keeping in the current language of the superintendent in 9280. But we would, through the committee, recommend that we have more time to think about the appropriateness of that superintendent language in each of those committee policies, while respecting the committee's view that, yes, the superintendent should appear in bylaws and policies, but we're just questioning the extent of the roles and responsibilities that are about 4 or 5 pages of additions to the current policy.
I agree. One of the things that we established, I see you, Mr. Traver, one of the things that we established and we were trying to do in the last meeting on the 16th was with Ms. Jimenez being kind of like the person that's going to be putting things down on paper, is to having that document that we can all see it, and it's a living document, though we have the policy, though we have the bylaws up, but that we have a breathing one that we're making changes and edit that we can share with one another, meaning our committee in this level, and then through Dr. Avery with you guys in the cabinet, that way you guys can see where we're thinking about word changes, where they will be lining them, and things like that. That's what we want to see. That way we can show it to you guys here. Because this has been since the 16th, so it's been 20+ days that this has been out there even prior to this. So definitely we want to have you guys have that. That's why we said only Ms. Jimenez is going to have access to that document to make changes, to make things through our committee, and then push it over to you guys. That way you guys can see it, read it. If you guys want to revise it, add or subtract, whatever, it'll be a living document. Then when we bring it here bring it to a vote with us, to move it to the full board, it'll all be done. It'll be all, complete. We don't want to rush anything, but we want to get the work done together. And that's why, we'll move forward from this part right now, but definitely we want to look at that, like you said, to look at his role and what is defined. And I'm sure, I'm 100%, 1000% that he's going to get to us and tell us, this is good. This will get us to work together. He's going to tell us. I don't have a doubt in my mind. Mr. Traver.
Yes, and my answer to Ms. Estramara Jimenez is that no, I don't know yet, because I have not fully reviewed it, and I would understand that the administration wants to provide input too. I can give you a quick, for instance, under ISS, you have a list of services that the superintendent would be managing and services that the committee would be overseeing. And the first one that leaps out to me is extracurricular activities are not in either list. And that would include athletics and other programs that are not there per se. Now, we could argue they were covered in some way under the last one, but I would suggest at the heading, manages student support services, including colon. In both of those, you say including but not limited to. Just as a catch-all, because there's always going to be stuff that we didn't include when you try and make a list. And so
True.
you do that as opposed to trying to have an all-inclusive list. You're offering that list as an example of some of the stuff, not all of it. And then we don't have to worry about it having everything in it that we want to cover. Because there's always going to be something that comes up that we're looking at now. So I will be taking a look at it, but I can't say that I have looked at it with a fine tooth comb yet. I have skimmed it.
Thank
Um,
you.
That language is it's in superintendent responsibility, not limited to
Well, it's in both of them,
committee responsibilities included, but not limited.
right? And I would just say you would add, in, but not limited to. You know, you're just not saying this is all of it. We got it all right here.
And that-
It's, we're trying to give you an idea of what these duties are, what this committee's looking at, but we can't necessarily say we've got it all.
Get that on
That's
there.
currently in there, yeah.
Ms. Marissa, what's the next section, Ms. Jimenez?
So the next,
I apologize. I just want to be respectful to Mr. Sakalovic
oh, sorry.
today.
I'm feeling a little, I'm trying to make this critical, but it just needs to be said. Feeling a little unstructured here. We're jumping around too much.
Or a
We
90
don't, I'm speaking. We don't have a roadmap. At this point in time, we don't have an agreement or a decision how many committees we should even have. We need to have a deliberate, direct path to get these things done. When you got a big job, how do you even know if it one bite at a time? We need to take a small bite. I think the first small bite we need to take is deciding how many committees we want to have. And then once we decide how many committees we want to have, we define them.
I agree. That's what I said earlier, that we have not done that yet.
So at least at this very meeting, we should be able to discuss and refer to the full board how many committees we want to have. I prefer just the separating out the personnel from policy, which seemed to be a big one, and keeping finance and facilities separate. And
What-
just and the initial definitions of that, then we got those 5 committees, then we know what we got to define. And then from there, we can define the committees, which we got a good framework for already. That just needs a little bit of work, but once we need to know if we need to define facilities and finance of a central audience.
Yeah,
of-
unfortunately, that's not in our agenda items, and I want to make sure we stick to our agenda item and know that that's why I mentioned it before, that we have not even touched that. And until we do that, we can't define them because we are adding and subtracting, that's what I said earlier about maybe 2 minutes ago, that we have to, do that first before we try to add and define the committees and what their roles are and their responsibilities are.
And through the chair, I think that's, you nailed it when you just brought that up, because I think when you say, how are we to even provide added value, and we don't even know where we're gonna go with this. So you're right. I think it needs to be, if you got 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 committees, then we'll have some guidance as to where we need to put these things. Right now, we're doing this, but we don't even know if we got 2, 3, 4, 5 committees. So we're spinning our wheels, guys. So I think we either need to just table what we have, put it on the agenda, figure out your committees, and we can't do that for you guys.
Well, that's what happened because of the meeting that workshop that happened, kind of like put a little speed bump and then made this look the way it looked. Cause that was discussions were made already before about those committees and all that. So we were having conversations. We had it before through the state meetings that we had in the training. And all of a sudden it got stalled and we started having discussions and then the workshop happened. So right now, let's move forward with, I'm sorry, you had a comment. I think you had your hearings. Did you?
I did. I tend to agree with both of these gentlemen.
That's right.
And so I only had a question. Mr. Skalovic has mentioned twice, last week and this week. We've done this before. It was before my time. When did we do this before? And operations committee,
No, we've merged finance and.
point of
facilities.
information, that's
Right.
all.
Yeah.
When did we do it before?
The very first meeting where we all argued, it wasn't called operations committee, you are technically correct, but it was called finance/facilities committee.
Yeah, it was the merger
They
of that. That's
they
what
merged
we had
two.
reference.
Without more control, and we had a problem with merging the two largest committees with the most work to do and concentrating it in one head. And things like that.
That was
December
December
7th, 11th,
December
12th.
11th, 2023.
Last year.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I don't remember that.
yeah, that was, well, when we were, I'll give you a little recollection when we elected,
Yes. Okay. I
Chair,
got it now.
all of a sudden committees came out and then she just didn't against bylaws and all that, you know, so that being said, Ms. Jimenez, what was the next group as we move forward, please?
The next item is public meeting and executive session, policy 9150. And that coincides with item D. So meeting policy minutes, posting minutes, but BPS website within 7 days like FOIA and posted on the website for 12 months. So that's a transparency item. And I'm also wondering for the construct of this, Dr. Avery, it, kind of explain the thought process behind it to make sure the cabinet kind of understands what each of these items are. So in public meeting and execution, it's really just adding a sentence, and I'm just trying to pull it up on my end now. Basically, just one sentence stating we need to post our meeting minutes, and I don't believe that's there now. The reason why I selected 7 days is because it coincides with FOIA, so it's rather than saying 5 days or 3 days or something like that, which would be much harder from an administrative perspective to manage, just keep the 7 days. And that is on page 29 of the bylaws. So what's the thought process and with that one? I guess not the language per se, but the thought process behind actually posting our meeting minutes within 7 days and for 12 months.
Any discussions about that? As we agreed, go ahead, take a minute. Yes, Mr. Chamber.
Yeah, we have them on there for a lot longer than 12 months, don't we?
That was,
Posted on the website.
Yeah.
Posted on the
Yes.
website
years.
and
Years.
yeah. It's indefinite right now. The posting of all the minutes is posted on the website and it's indefinitely, that way you know. So that one, I would suggest, you know, during the discussion is to note that way we can pretty much just, you know, kind of like cross that part out. The posting of the website, on the website for 12 months or to the school calendar. I feel we should, you know, scratch that out, because it is done indefinitely. You can go right now and look at 2020, and look at the minutes and all that stuff. So
The
it
new
is,
website, oh, I'm sorry.
well, it should be off. So right now they are still merging and they're still, with my understanding, a little, you know, hiccups with,
Difficult.
but they're there. Oh, yeah, no, they're there definitely. And it's still, the other one is still there actively. So that website is never gonna end in the sense of is gonna go away. So you can go to the old website and still see minutes, probably, again, like I said, 2020 and 2018. I think I even seen 2014 or whatever, but they're there, definitely. So that's what I mean. And that one, if we can definitely, if it's, again, scratch that one out, that part of it, that and then we can just start discussing, if there's any discussion about, the minutes being posted, within the 7 days, like FOIA. So right now you're saying that there isn't that specific statement of a guideline on when should be posted, and you're suggesting that it should be posted within 7 days, just like FOIA, correct?
Correct.
Any discussion of that as we move forward?
I believe it might be the actual requirement, I believe, Mr. Even is correct.
When, what,
The timeline that we should be, they should be posted by 7 days. I'm just trying to see if I can post.
That's correct. So
That's the-
FOIA
that-
indicates that it needs to be within 7 days, but our bylaws don't say that.
so that's why we want to add that then, because then we'll be in compliance with FOIA laws, and if that's a recommendation, it'll probably help them. I don't know what days they've been putting it specifically, but yes,
Just to the chair, it's already a law. It's just, the recommendation is to make it part of your.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're already complying with the law. So do you want to spend the time to say that, spell out the law that we're already complying with in the policy? That's just basically.
Yeah.
You need to consider, so.
yeah, it's a matter of just adding it and it's done, because it's already being done, like you suggested right now, and it's complete.
I
Yeah,
get it.
the reality, oh, I'm sorry, Jim.
Right, I can think Mr. point there, that it's a redundancy that's gonna cause extra work, and if we do this one, what about the rest of the FOIA laws? We're supposed to fill them in. Instead of, we could, I think we could do something broad and general, like, which Board of Education will shall follow all statutes and regulations of the state of Connecticut, or something like that, broad and all encompassing, rather than pick out.
So right now, the first sentence in the policy says, in compliance with legal requirements, a complete and accurate set of minutes. So I guess the proposal is to further define what those legal requirements are. So it's, it's kind of making chair.
Yeah.
I like what Joe said. I think that we
Just
should.
clarify things, guys. The use of board book would automatically do that for us. We're still using the functionalities of board book, so it should automatically, probably within 48 hours, we should be able to get those things up, posted, and moved on effectively. Again, we're still transitioning, and I think a lot of that's going to take care of itself. So you can, it's all about, a lot of it is making sure that we're doing it and making sure my staff is doing it. And so I gotta do some checks and balances with my staff to make sure it's done. But the board book piece should be, they'll up the agenda, they'll get the minutes it's all electronically done. It should be able to be posted up there in a matter of just less than 7 days probably. We just gotta just do it and have someone consistently on making sure it comes to life.
Yeah, I like what both of you said, which is essentially, I don't think we need to point these little things, place these little FOIA reminders in our policy, if you will. But I do think it's a good idea at some point, as we're transforming the website, to put a FOIA summary in there. A sort of highlight page, a public information page about FOIA. And how we're complying with FOIA or whatever, or highlights that FOIA requires us, and just let people know.
I can
And-
click on the FOIA requirements.
Yeah.
Boom, you say,
Okay,
okay,
it's a link to FOIA, and it just says FOIA requires us to do X, Y, Z, and here's the link to the FOIA's state thing, and just let people know we're all for it. Here's what it requires, and here's how you can exercise your rights if you think we're
Now,
not.
that's what you said, as we transform, we're gonna get things better, things that works for all of us, then we'll be able to make it a smooth
Instead of putting
transition.
in these little
Yeah.
FOIA tabs within our policy to do it that way.
Good.
And I think that makes
Take
more
care of that.
sense, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Tiana. What's the next,
Yeah,
bucket?
So just to kind of summarize to make sure I got my notes updated. We're gonna get rid of D. But we do want to replace it with like a link, like a FOIA link. These are all the requirements that we need to abide by, and then just have that link speak for itself, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and possibly, small recommendation, possibly, when we talk about the word that you just read, typically parentheses, FOIA, when it says law, just to identify FOIA, then they can go on the website and look at what the FOIA standards are.
Right.
Just a
Okay.
small thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Jimenez.
Okay, next one. Let's keep
Yep.
rolling. Meeting conduct policy 9160, and that coincides with item F, update policy around public comment. That is a requirement for all regular and special board meetings, and describe that only name and affiliation, parent, teacher, etc. are required. So this came out of us forgetting to put public comment on a few of our meetings. And I think what we need to talk about is, do we feel comfortable putting public comment in our special meetings? That's not something that we've done historically. Is there a reason why? So kind of want to hear from the team here. Is there a preference one way or another?
Mr. Sakala, then Traver. Mr. Traver.
Public comment is already part of special meetings in the new bylaws. And the reasoning behind having it there was because a former chair abused the process, canceled regular meetings and had special meetings, which did not include special public comment at the time. And the reason for it being restricted to agenda items only was to not make the meeting overly long and have people just come out and just take any old pot shots. And at the time it was getting canceled when there's controversial subjects on the thing. Like, for instance, if we should get a runaway chair again going into the next budget season, or we talk about budget cuts. We got budget cut A, B, C, and D. Cancel the regular meeting, special meeting, no public comment. We don't get to hear from the constituents. And that was the reasoning behind that policy change and before, and I believe it was a reasonable change. We got changed to stay as is. Not many people come out anyway to speak for public comment. That's special meetings. The one recommendation that's in the public comment is to change it from 2 minutes to 3 minutes, which I absolutely agree with. And there was some disagreement as to whether we should only do 10 to make it stay 30 minutes, or to hold it to just the first 15 speakers and just make public comment in the beginning 45 minutes before cutting off. And that's another thing where we have to make a decision as a board, not just keep talking about it around certain. Do we want 30 minutes? Do we want the 45 minutes? Seems we all agreed on the 3 minutes. We know the 3 minutes is an agreement. And we might not all agree on 45 minutes in the beginning of the meeting. We might all, but we don't need us all to agree. We need 5 to agree, and that's gonna rule the day.
Exactly. So, and that one, I do recall it, that we were speaking about the 3 minute, and it was somewhat of a great consensus on the 3 minute, but there was a debate about whether we were gonna have the 15 people under the regular meeting. I believe it was one that was in question, that it was 15, so that would be a 45 minute. And the suggestion was made to move it to 30 minutes, keep it, so that means we were gonna just say that it would be 10 speakers, not knowing that we have a right as a board to open it up to more than 10 by a vote of the board. And I think that was that consensus on that one. But we definitely gotta make some decisions through here, then we would move it to the full board, that way it can become a vote, because I think that's the only thing that is missing.
Yeah.
So. Mr. Benningham, oh, you wait, go ahead.
You even said my name.
I did before, I appreciate it. Thank you for keeping me on it, I appreciate you.
Benningham.
Mr. Trainer, go ahead.
So, look, I actually didn't agree with the vote on that change, but you did summarize it correctly. So it is what it is. But on the special meeting, Joe is correct, and I want to be clear to anyone that doesn't know the history. He's talking about pre-23. 2023. That superintendent. That chair. It was scheduling meetings. Not recent history, a little longer ago history.
Yes.
So this isn't, we're talking, now, unfortunately, in recent history, the chair started using special meetings and not putting public speaking in there.
Yep.
That is clear. It's in the bylaws that public speaking should be on the agenda for the reasons Joe described. But public speaking is limited to agenda items only. That's the restriction on public speaking, agenda items only. In a regular board meeting, people can come and speak to whatever they want. We've had people come speak to their own special new curriculum ideas that aren't on the agenda. We've had people speak to all kinds of things. But in a special meeting, they can only speak to what's on the agenda. Going back to what Joe just described, so that previous superintendent years ago, who was trying to put budget cut items on an agenda or the special meeting, they could speak to those cuts. That was the point. I think that we should keep it that way. I like the way we have it. In a special meeting, they can come and speak. And we'll get to the issue of how long and how many when we get to the full board and vote on it. So I think that should stay just the way it is. At regular meetings, they have the number of people and the amount of time that we're going to decide and can speak to whatever they want to speak to. And at special meetings, they can speak only to agenda items.
Ms. Jimenez?
Yeah, so I just wanted to comparing the language between the regular meeting and special meetings. Special meetings indicate that public comment may be provided. So it's not saying it needs to happen. So now with the proposed changes, during special meetings, public comment need to be provided or shall be provided. So it's much
Shall.
more clear.
Yep.
So
Yes, change it to shall, or the recommendation will be to try to change that to shall.
yes,
You kind of put that in our notes for the document.
yep.
Mr.
Okay.
Benham?
For the record, I just want to be sure, we have to understand and very clear. That sometimes 1 minute is not enough for our listening, our community. And I know I've already said this so many times that we are led to because of community. Sometimes 1 minute is something that people want to talk and speak. Sometimes us, board members, we talk about public comment. And when that make the sound, they shut you down. And I hate when they do that, I hate it. I have to say I hate it because when there's somebody speaking, you say, oh, you shut down, you finish. Come on, let the person finish the sentence and then they can speak. That's what I say. We have to listen in our communities. So let me
I look forward to make sure to advocate to have that, that 3 minute mark, and then we'll go from there. But that's something that we gotta.
And
Put it on,
another thing, Mr. Sheriff, sorry to interrupt
Yeah.
you. I know that sometimes they say, oh, we can have a vote for 15 people or how many minutes and stuff like that. We have to understand one thing. All these people, parents and community, whoever comes to the meeting, they stop what they're doing to go home, to cook, take care of the family, to come to our meeting, to speak, to talk. I'm telling you for now, for the record, I don't care how many people come to speak to us. We have to listen to them. If we have to make a vote to extend more minutes, we have to, because they stop what they're doing. When they have to go, they can go straight home, but not, they come to our meeting to talk to us, to listen to us, and we're not gonna allow to let them speak. I'm sorry, I'm let you know for the record. I'm not gonna be allowed that. We have to listen to our people. That's why we are a board member. That's why we elected. Just wanted to shut that for the record. Thank you,
I
Mr.
appreciate
Chair.
that. I did have a discussion during one of the meetings when we ended the meeting, and we kind of like read some. So there should be, and if it wasn't clear, and with Dr. Avery's here, that when the public comment list is out there, it is not limited at all. That there will be multiple sheets there going down the list. So if there's 50 people, there will be room for 50 people to sign up if they want to sign up. There's no more limit than that document that's going to be presented on that podium for public comment to be signed up. That's my understanding of thing through the chair. that it was gonna make sure that those documents are there.
Thank you.
Mr. Tripp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief. Just so that people understand the historical perspective, Board of Ed meetings used to be in this room.
Mhm.
And in this room in the 1990s,
Yeah.
public speaking was at the end of the meeting. We had to wait until the meeting was over before we were allowed to speak. And that was a fight we had in the 1990s to move public speaking up to the beginning of the meeting. So the parents could come and speak and be heard and then go home because they had families to take care of. So we've come a long way. And I think it's because the public was heard. So we're getting better. We are much better. Just making some improvements.
Okay, not hearing anything else, Ms. Jimenez, what's the next, I believe we're going to I. Or INK.
I is a construction and posting of agenda, so that's policy 9130. So that one, and I will say I have to apologize because I realized in the bylaw I wrote 72 hours instead of 48 hours, but really wanted to have, so I'll get that changed. But wanted to have a conversation if that's something doable. This item came about getting meeting materials not in a timely fashion, and we couldn't like review it before a meeting. So that's where this one derived from, and I just wanted to ask Dr. Avery and his team if 48 hours is something that's doable. Certainly don't want to throw something that's not achievable for you guys on the page here.
I could comment on that. Again, the board members, we know how we struggled or went through the whole budget process. Sometimes 48 hours is like you already have the solution of what you're trying to do mapped out. In the budget, when we were doing the budget for this year, it was a last minute thing where I was crunching numbers, tying the numbers to make sure it ties, making sure things are not double counted. I couldn't have foreseen 48 hours or 72 hours, how I was gonna close that budget. Deficit or gap. It's gonna get worse next year because of the magnitude of the deficit. So for me to balance, I mean, I'm never one to
That's what
Yeah.
you want for.
I can't guarantee or predict to anyone that the looming deficit you have, we're gonna have next year, which is no less than $24 million, that I'm gonna figure it out in 72 hours before the meeting.
I'm
And the numbers
wondering, I'm
just-
sorry. Nestor, I'm wondering to address your concern here, and I get it. I understand completely where you're coming from. If maybe we say 48 hours with the exception of like excruciating circumstances, which I would classify that as. Is that amenable?
That's fine, yeah, that's fine.
And
What is-
understanding, I mean, and understanding that, those things happen, 40 hours or 72, what we're suggesting, I want to make sure I make it clear for the record and also for my documents here. Is it 42 or 48 or 72 you're suggesting?
48 hours.
Okay, thank you. Because he mentioned or more.
Please. One more.
Huh?
There's no reason to hold on to it.
Oh, yeah, gotcha.
If they got the paper.
The minimum.
Throw.
Okay, it says within 48 hours. It says within 48. So these things. So again, if there's a document, for example, you touched the budget, and there's stuff that is clear that day as of 48 hours before, or even 72 hours before, but yet when you come to the meeting, there's an update to that.
Absolutely.
We understand that, but having nothing,
Oh, no.
having nothing for us to review that we could, then, not the whole document in any subject, in any matter,
Oh,
it's all gonna be changed.
absolutely.
We understand that. I just want to make sure that you guys know as a cabinet, that we understand that, and I want the superintendent to understand that we understand that. But having nothing,
No.
like, I don't know if you guys recall that I said in one of our meetings that, a fifth grader could have made a copy of 10 documents and passed it out,
Mhm.
but it wasn't done because they said it was done 2-3 hours before the meeting. That wasn't this year, that was back in 2023. And I was like, I can't believe that somebody could have made a copy of something. So that being said, well, we're definitely gonna look at that, Miss, Jimenez, what's the next item?
The last
it-
bylaw is around public hearing and it's item K. This one's super minor and it's identifying public hearing. I'm sorry. Public hearing is also board community forums and indicating that those meetings should happen quarterly.
What policy is that? I just want to make sure.
9190,
Nine one
public
nine zero.
hearings.
Thank you. I'm just making my notes. I appreciate that. So you want to read it? You have that one up?
Yep. So it reads public hearings, and this is the new section, also known as board community forums, shall be conducted on a quarterly basis. That's the new language. Existing language, just to wrap up the sentence, reads, may be held before the board at such time and places as the board may determine.
Any questions, comments about that, guys? Real quick? Yes.
Mr. Mayor Jimenez, do you foresee, the question I have with quarterly is that would suggest the summer. And really, I think we should be more specific about what we want. I have no problem with the meetings, the concept of the meetings and increasing the frequency of the meetings, which is increasing from 0 to something, because we've never done what it says. And so we should be specific about what we want. And I would think that we would want to have a fall, winter, and spring meeting,
Okay.
something like that. So I think we want to be a little more specific about what we're looking to achieve as a board. Because quarterly just has a summer meeting in there. And
So on that one will be 4 meetings and quarterly will be 4. And so you're suggesting 3 only.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
quarterly generally means that you have a fourth. And when
Yeah.
colleges have a quarterly semester, there's a semester schedule or a quarterly schedule that includes a summertime class schedule in it. And so I'm just saying that we want to, I think, be a little more clear in our language about what we're seeking to achieve. And I think something more along the lines of 3 meetings during the school year, 1 in the fall, 1 in the winter, 1 in the spring, something like that.
So that'll be 3 only.
Yeah, I like that. I like the thought. But I'm thinking along the sort of the same lines, but even possibly quarterly, like, doesn't necessarily have to be summer. Like, welcome back to school summer, the tail end of summer. It's still technically the summer, right? When we come back to school and then like, spring. Winter. And then end of the year for kick off the summers.
So we're running, I got you. And we're running into the thing of quarterly, meaning, season.
Either way.
And then we're talking about, and suggesting about the or the specific season, which we're conducting 3. Is there any thoughts or consideration about just having a certain number? That way, then we can just plan it and put it on the calendar, because we can plan and put it on the calendar what month we're gonna do it and what week of that month or whatever, and just have it done. Do we want to maybe consider how many you want to have during the school year? But go ahead, Mr. Travis.
Yeah, my only response to Mr. Sikalovic is that he's nuts.
I'm just gonna go back and agree with you.
A meeting at the end of the summer, beginning of the school year, that is crazy time for parents and staff and everybody else. And the meeting at the end of the school year is, nobody wants to see us. So I'm joking about that he's nuts, but I'm just saying those are not
Appreciate it.
times that people want to see us. And so I'm just saying, when you get the school year moving and people sort of settled in, they've had the open houses and everything else, and you got a sense, that's when you want to hear from people. Like, my school didn't have an open house, it sucks. But that's when they're going to want to come talk to you. And so after you sort of stumble through the beginning of the school year, or it all goes smoothly, then you want to sort of meet with them and hear what they have to say about how are we doing. That's why I'm thinking, fall, not before, not at the onset when things are going well, not going well. So I think that that's not a good time. So as you've started into the school year, end of September, beginning of October, before you get to report cards at the end of that first marking period, then sort of after the holidays, into the winter, and then into the spring, late spring, those are the times where you sort of want to get the feedback, is what I'm saying. And I don't know what those are the constructive times that we want to hear from people. How are we doing?
Well, I'm gonna put it on you and say I'm gonna look forward to seeing that nice calendar and what you will consider. So that way we can have something. So I think you'll be,
Well, that would be fine. I'm
That'd be
happy to
great
work
to have.
with people, not my, but those are my opinions, but I'm happy to hear what other people have to say about more specifically when that makes sense.
well, I like your insight with matching it with, report cards, stuff like that. So maybe, if you can formulate something to present to us, that'd be
Just real
great.
quick
We'll
before,
make a little ad hoc committee of staff and parents and and leaders to think about when would be good times to do it. I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you. Go ahead.
yeah, real quick,
Thank you.
I agree with Mr. Traber 100% now,
Thank you.
even in the fact that I'm.
There you go, Mr. Mayor.
Sir, I
Go
appreciate it.
ahead.
I was actually gonna agree with Mr. Traber that these
Hey, you
forums
look at the-
need to happen during the school year. And so I think just to kind of summarize and wrap this one up. So we're saying 3 rather than quarterly, and we are going to be specifying that these meetings need to happen during the school year, correct?
Well, we're taking a look at that and you'll be sharing with us and presenting to us a thought process as where in the calendar will be a good timing and all that stuff, guiding us through like you said, report card time, that will if there's some concerns, the parents, but he's gonna touch base with some of his colleagues and other community leaders to figure out what their suggestion might be. So he'll present something to us. Mr. Benahan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want, I know everything was fast because you don't mind if I say something about the item I about all the meetings materials. So,
Yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm
That's,
fine.
that's, when you talk about that's including, you talking about with Dr. Everett's cabinet, or that's including the future guide, the chairs, the committee?
This is a meeting material, so whatever materials need to be put in the portal for the whole board and or the committees,
Yeah.
yes, that's
That's why
for
you said that.
all meetings.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's what I said the last time, because I know, Dr. Everett's, team, they have, so many things and that, bringing things last minutes.
And like I
Put
said,
everything, everybody,
yep, like I mentioned with Mr. Duco was, we understand.
Yeah,
It's gonna be better than this
especially the
year,
budget thing is very.
but to have, everything all in the left, it's, something that we wanna refrain from not doing. We know there's gonna be updates, there's gonna,
Yeah.
listen, from 1 hour to another. With all due respect, I don't wanna say the word that I wanna use as far as, Dr. Avery will get notice like 20 minutes before the meeting.
Yeah, I know.
And he wants to share it. What he's gonna do? Not share it? No, he's gonna share it.
I
He's
don't
gonna bring it to
understand
us.
things the last minute, I understand, especially the budget thing, but sometimes things last minute, change his team and put it upside down. Listen, we need them, they're gonna, so they have to stop what they're doing to be sure we have it, but I'm okay, I want to clear that. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, please.
Yeah, again, we're getting near the end of the list, so I just want to know
Okay.
what happened to C?
Come back to it. That's another one.
No, we're not,
No, remember, we've been bundling it, but we're not gonna, she decided to do something different. Yeah, so I got you. But, we're getting to it. Gonna see how
C's
could've moved
next.
she's,
Yeah.
he's going through the
Okay.
grouping or what she did. So right now, the next grouping was letter K right now with policy 9110, 9190.
That's why we have okay, and we were at the end of the list.
No, we're not in it. We've been bouncing around. Yeah, so, yeah, they're grouping. So go ahead, Ms. Menace. If we can move forward, if not, you have another comment.
So that was all the different bylaws. So any changes to the bylaws we just covered. Now there was 2 separate policies that are not in the bylaws that were suggested here, and that's lottery reporting policy. And I want to say, when I first brought this up, I couldn't find the lottery policy, and then Danielle was kind enough to compile all of them for me, and I read them all, and after reading them, there's no sense in recreating the wheel. And I think this item came about because we want more transparency around the lottery admissions and ensuring that there's no gaming of the system, which creating a lottery policy wouldn't address anyways. So I think what I've kind of massaged this a different way is that we would have some sort of reporting mechanism to address this issue. So I'm kind of taking the words policy out of this entirely, and it would be a reporting of some kind. What that looks like, I'm not 100% sure. That's something that we would need Dr. Avery and his team's help with. I did put together quickly, and it's in the portal, kind of what I think would be helpful for transparency's sake. But that's all, we're all going through that to see if that's feasible, if it works or not. So kind of wanted to mention that it's not really a lottery policy. And just to kind of go a little further, we don't want to change those policies because funding is tied into a lot of those policies. So we certainly don't want to negatively impact the state funding that we get for those lottery-based schools either. So we need to be very careful with that. And that's my piece for this one.
Thank you. Dr. Avery?
Thank you, Ms. Jimenez. I think, and that's one of the things that we've been struggling with as well. I understand that there's been some history behind that whole process and some things that have been allowed. But I think in full transparency, I think we just need to be a lot more transparent about how those things, and maybe just relook at that whole process and redefine some things that's going to work better for what we do now with those magnet schools or those lottery-based schools. I think it's important that we can, get to the 21st century on how that's going to be looked. I love the idea about, the reporting piece of it. And I've heard the history and all of that, but again, it's about making sure that we do the right thing, because when you deviate from that, then people start hearing about the deviation and when it happened and all that. Again, I think that's something that we just need to be cognizant of and work better at doing a better job of it. So again, I'm open to whatever, but I like the idea of holding tight, but then, rethinking through it a little bit. So yes.
Mr. Traver, I'm sorry, Mr. Sakanik is gonna just have his comment, and then Mr. Traver, I'm just gonna take a little break real quick, and Mr. Sakanik will be sharing for a minute.
Yeah, y'all mentioned the key word that we need to look at, and that key word is transparency. And there's one thing that's very important to keep in mind when changing a magnet school policy in any way, shape, or form. Not just one sort of magnet school. There's two sources of magnet schools. One gets additional funding through the state, and another one just gets the run-of-the-mill regular funding, because that funding ran out for magnet schools at least a decade ago or more. Now, the reason word transparency is so important is because already embedded in the policies and the state language is these lotteries shall be taking place in public. They shall be public libraries, public lotteries. It says public libraries, so people could look over and see that it's being properly utilized. I think Mr. Traver talked about in the past, they used to do a wheel or something like that, and oh no, it's on wheel, not me. All right, so
It is a public lottery. It's done publicly through a system, so it's done that way.
And then there's also something I've always wondered, because there is a disproportionate amount, including myself, elected officials that are in public school, that suddenly win the lottery. Now, I publicly disclosed my track and how I got my child in. I had to pull my child out of his last year of his senior year because he finally got to number 2 on the lottery. And it affected him. I had to yank him out of his school the very last year to make sure he had the track to go to Fairchild Wheeler. Because as parents, we all want what's best for our children. Now, they have a system for the lottery, but is there a system in place where perhaps a principal can enroll a student outside the lottery or fly under the radar? And is that ever cross-checked? The lottery list versus who is sitting in those seats in their school? I think that's something that should be put in place. They should cross-check. Superintendent or one of your staff should cross-check all the first graders, see where they list. If you got somebody in kindergarten who's number 300 on the list, we need to darn well check those 299 that came before that they would contact and refuse that seat. And that would be somewhat of a check and a balance that nobody's getting skipped over.
I'm not 100% sure, but I will make sure what I can do is next time we discuss this particular item, I can have the department that has and runs that come and clarify some things and look at the process that they're using. Are they used currently? And if we need to modify that a little
Right,
bit
just
to
add-
enhance like
add
you're
stuff.
saying.
It goes with the internal controls, don't only apply to finances.
We can look at that a little bit.
Yeah, the system's still being played. Just everybody in town thinks it's a game system. It's a who's who of who's got influence and power in Bridgeport, dropping our kids off at Discovery. That's what everybody in town thinks. And we have to assure people that your child has the same chance as every other child in the city.
Amen.
And whether it's back in the 90s when my child applied for the lottery or now, people need to believe it's a fair system. And I want to know that it's fair because I know that next year my daughter's going to apply to have her child into a magnet school. And I don't want anyone to think that I gave the system.
I respect that.
I want to know that it's going to be fair. And I know that Joe carried his papers around ready to show them to anybody that wanted to know, as he should. But I know other people, and you saw it happen in front of a board meeting where they hauled PJ out front to justify what was not, what was then became clearly apparent that the system had been abused with that justification that he was forced to make. So I think that, even more recently, there's questions about people who let their kids in that school. So I just think that we have to make sure that everybody understands that and if there's exceptions, those rules need to be put out there for the public to know. And we have to be able to look somebody in the eye and say, here's how we make exceptions to those rules. And we have to be able to explain them to people, whether they are children of staff or children of other important people in this city that get allowed to put in there. We have to be able to say, here's the exceptions rule, and justify it. Because whether that's what the funding law says or not, we need to be able to say, here's the exceptions rule, and know what it is. Because I want to be able to say to a parent, your child has the same chance as every other child in the city. And people don't feel that's the way. People feel like you get in there if you have the connections. And I want that to be changed.
Yeah.
I want everybody to know they have the same chance as anybody else.
And I respectfully say I agree with you as well, but I think it's time for us to go back and look at our lottery process. Let's go back and, revitalize what we do, showcase to the community. This is the process that we follow, making sure that I love the idea of exceptions. I've seen districts where, as an exception, if you're employed in the district, you may be able to do some things. I bring your child in, whatever exception, if there's any out there, it needs to be, like you said, put out front. The board votes on it to approve if that is going to be an exception or not. And I think that's what needs to happen now. So I think we can do that and make it work.
And I personally like the idea of there being a lottery night Everybody can watch on video. They can log on to YouTube and watch the lottery. You apply for the lottery, you can watch the lottery. You know, here it is, your number comes out, oh, number, then it, you know, and they know what the lottery is, and it's gonna be posted on the website. And they can see, oh, I got this number, because I remember, I don't even remember how we found out how low our number was and how we had to wait. But we had to wait. And, you know, now I saw this, when I saw somebody's ticket a couple of years ago, it was like, wow, this is impressive. At this school, your number this, at this school, your number that, you know, it was like, wow, this is a much more modern system. But, you know, is there a, as Joe just described, is there a basket, like a bingo basket where the number pops out, or is there a, you know, the tube where the ball comes out?
Thank you, Mr. Woodson. I see your hand, sir. Give me a second. Thank you.
Oh,
Yes, no, I was telling them that.
Just to clarify, if we do provide somebody to speak to this, would you want this to be part of this committee? If we're not gonna do it as a policy, would just let us know which committee you'd want us to speak to it about.
Oh, no, absolutely.
If
Otherwise,
through your committee or this committee.
or
Just so we can get it.
or the board,
No, policy.
Mr. Benning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with what Mr. Trevor said, but I'm agreeable with the circle said, but I know he always got his paper cast. Remember, when this happened, he followed, and everybody know how it's circular, he followed the protocol and policy. But I'm very surprised, because I remember when my son applied for it, my son never was called. Right, and I was surprised when people, the student was after my son, and I see him was in the magnet school. But I'm very glad it's gonna happen to be followed, because I know and I visit people and I see student, a child being in magnet school, when just because they are working for the city or because they work for the BOE or they staff, something like that. I don't like that. Like, you know, we have to change, everybody have to change. But I have a question for you, Dr. Ray, and I know you say you're gonna follow that. They see somebody have apply for it. How many people see the application? To be sure, you know, not only, it's gonna be only one person, or do you have different staff? They see if I'm apply for it, they go to, like you say, Mr. PJ, and that's Mr. PJ, somebody else, you know, to be approved. How many people have to approve that application? To be sure that's to their people.
I'm not for sure if there's an approval process like you're saying. You know, as a parent, you apply to the Magnet portal. And then from that point, whatever school it gives you, it puts you on that list once it's ran. And then from there, I don't know how transparent it is across the board when it comes to, you know, identifying where you stand in that.
Yeah, I'm just saying this because it's will be sure to be fair that nobody say, oh, only person approve it. At least you have, let's see, 3 signature to be sure.
I don't think you can go through the process if you don't complete each step to finalize. So if you don't finalize, you won't get a number for that particular school when it's ran. So, yeah, again, I don't know the details behind, but I think once we can kind of solidify that, do a presentation, you know, that department will be able to do it.
I say this because to prevent people, they say, oh, because this, and just give a sample. You was the person, you know, approve it. And I don't want people to say, oh, because it only comes to you, how come other people they don't see it? You got my point? So you defend yourself, and nobody can say, oh, then you just make that decision. You got, let's give a sample, 3 people make that decision. So nobody can say, oh, you, because you like him, because this.
We'll get that information. Yeah, we'll get that information. Mr. Woodson.
But you got my point, right? That's my.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to, you know, kind of get off topic, but I know we were having problems in the past filling the magnet schools. You know, magnet schools weren't even filled to capacity, you know, the past couple of years. Am I right?
Go ahead, please.
That's for out of town portion. But for in-district, it's always maximum capacity, not even enough. You have to have certain allocation or certain headcount reserved for out of town. So if they don't meet the quota, if they don't come in, you still cannot fill them with regular for students.
So that's, if I, just to
Yeah.
interject real quick, that's Fairchild Wheeler, so
Fairchild
the thing that you were discussing, Mr. Woodson,
Yes, sir.
Fairchild Wheeler, according to the contract and the way everything is laid out through the state and everything, there's a criteria that's gotta be matched. And without that criteria, we can have a student. So for example, I believe the criteria, correct me anyone if I'm wrong, for one out-of-state student, then we out of district student, we can have 3 in-district students. If they don't send us one out of district, we can't fill the 3 that it's in district. If I'm correct, that's the way it is. So that's a specific school and only, but everything else as far as on the other magnet schools, yeah, they're on that capacity. They're not there. Nobody's waiting to get into there, believe me.
Okay. I was just asking a question. Thank you. That was it.
No, thank you.
If I'm reading it correctly, I think you have to reserve 25% of the student population for out of town.
That's what
We can get it clarified for you and give you a little bit more info. I think we have to do a refresher on all those aspects because they change those percentages from year to year when it comes to suburban, in district, all those things for at least for Fairchild Wheeler.
Yeah, and I would like to point out, as I do every time this conversation comes up, that they will fund our schools at a higher rate for 3 of our children if we just get one of their children in our schools. And that's disgusts me to no end.
Okay. Mr. Woodson, you still have your hand raised, so I just want to make sure I note that. Ms. Jimenez,
Last one, procurement policy. So this derived from, the
what letter
IT.
again? What
Oh,
letter?
so procurement policy G, and I will say
Sure.
this one does not have a number because it would be a new one. And I got this policy from CABE. And basically the policy indicates that anything above $25,000 would have to go to the board for approval. And I realize that is something that we've always operated under, but I couldn't find a policy that actually stated that. So that's why I'm presenting this. But the file in the portal is the CABE policy. They had a placeholder in there of $15,000. So in track changes, I switched that to $25,000. So that's the only change to that policy.
What policy number was that? Because you said it was gonna be a new one. But now you mentioned one.
I did not create a policy number for that one because it's not included in our bylaws. It would be a standalone policy.
Well, we gotta find out where it might be. Yes.
What I'm seeing here, I guess policy number 3324. It's basically there. All it's saying is that if you're going over the budget, it will allow the superintendent or the finance director to approve a requisition over $25,000 of the approved budget. Meaning the maximum, depending on emergency situation, the finance director, the superintendent can only go over 24,500 of the approved line item. If it's anything more than that, the superintendent, like in case of emergency, the superintendent has to notify the board chair that this is an emergency, it has to be done. If the air conditioning system in the complex is not working, instead of having children go home or the teachers go home, which will cost a lot of money, the superintendent would okay the emergency order for train or carrier to come and start working on the compressor or the air conditioner, but he is gonna notify the board chair. Then the board chair will notify the board that he has to be taken care of due to emergency. So basically, currently the Board of Education, the board is following the city policy on procurement. So anything, any requisition, any purchase order over $25,000 has to be put out to bid by the city. So the board, the district doesn't really have anything to do with it. You're just following the established city ordinance. which is ideal and normal, and that's what they're trying to address here. But restricting, the way it's written here, it means you're bypassing or neglecting the city ordinance. You're bypassing the three-way competitive bid. You're bypassing the state bid, basically neglecting them all, which is already has been in existence for the longest time. That's what this is basically saying, which is circumventing or denouncing all the policies, both the state purchasing ordinance, both the city purchasing ordinance. You basically throwing them down or out.
So I would recommend in this discussion, before Ms. Jimenez, answers one question that I have, that way you see where she was heading, why this was brought up,
Okay.
that maybe you could share that with her,
Yeah.
the ordinance and all that stuff, that way she can see it.
Yeah.
And there was a specific reason, I remember, for this area, because there was a concern. Can you share that with us, Ms. Jimenez?
Yep.
Well, the thought process, that way everybody knows where
Yep.
this is.
Yes, so this derived from the Raptor program, actually. IT, after having multiple conversations, we realized that the board was not looped in to the purchase of IT related items. So that's where this came from. But then after having that meeting with CABE, they're really stating that our policies should not be restrictive to like one certain item. So we don't want to have a policy that calls out IT specifically. We want to have a policy that's all encompassing. So that's why I got this policy from CABE and I'm suggesting it, but I will say I did not know about the policy that Mr. Naquo presented. So if I can get that, I did look on our BPS website and I couldn't find it. It might be because of the transition from the old to the new system. But I think if that policy is doing what we need it to do, there's no sense for this one. So I would like to, I'll mention it to Daniel and Mr. Noquo, you said it was policy 3224.
Yep, 3324.
I'll get
Thank
that from Danielle.
Because we have the transfer fund policy. I don't know that we have the ordering goods and services policy, so it would be.
Point of information, just for a second, John. He said 3324.
Correct. Correct, 3324.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay, thank you for that. I wrote that wrong.
Well, that's just the model CABE number, but we can,
No, but she had the wrong number for one that's.
Okay, okay.
I was clarifying.
Okay. Mrs. Economy?
Yeah, I want to draw everybody's attention to business non-instructional operations. This is where the policy lies, or actually regulation, which 3320 1R 2R 3R, and it pretty much follows the city purchasing ordinance. The first part mentions all materials and goods and services, with a small exclusion that we've used from time to time, excluding educational and medical specialty services in an IEP. Those are the only exclusions around any of the purchasing policies of the city. But it has been abused to, it's not any educational purchase. It's educational surrounding an IEP. And this is, we really need to get on top of these things and understand the policies that we got, because we as the board are enforcers of the policies. And not, that sounds a little too rough. We need to ensure the policies are being followed. And under our care and control of the budget especially. And one thing I've seen this board leap on is RFPs. RFPs should be written broadly in scope to draw as many competitors as possible. We've been taking too much advantage of the qualified purchases, which have driven up our costs over years and years and years. Just because one firm offers one little piece that's special to that firm that's gonna be used 2% of the time does not make that a qualified purchase. And somebody else is like 98% compliant with what we need, and we could have a significant 10%, 20% savings over that. So I've seen and I've tried to get broadened, but it just needs to be the basic understanding that we gotta draw these things broad, a basic understanding that these policies actually exist. And back to Dr. Avery's point, our roles and responsibilities, the superintendent's role and responsibility is to ensure that policies is being carried out with fidelity, that would do getting the best bang in the book. And if Dr. Avery does not carry out his responsibility with full fidelity, then it becomes a board issue either during his evaluation or if it's something so drastic and immediate intervention. We as the board got wide latitude. If we see I'm just gonna use your example, I'm not trying to say you're gonna do this. Say go to this book firm that has an extra page and it's some ridiculous thing like that and pay 20% more and just make that purchase and call it an educational thing. We as a board can just say, oh, we gotta stay in our lane. No, we as a board gotta tell the chair, put on the agenda to direct Dr. Avery to purchase the lower item bid or whatever have you, because we got wide latitude as a board in oversight. It's not something that should be abused, but it's something that should be known that we have that power. And we listen to the superintendent's recommendations, of course, and taking it.
Our and responsibility aware of that one. Is there any other further discussion? If not, Ms. Jimenez, next.
That's everything from me. I think we go into the following agenda items.
Okay, so next
Thank you.
thank you.
Oh, I have one more thing. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Just to kind of
Okay.
summarize, so, it's next steps for all these items. So I've jotted down everybody's edits. I would like to incorporate them and then send around another iteration of the bylaws. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah, this section that we just covered and everything that we just covered, yeah.
Yes.
And I would suggest that you will group it up as you done already. That way everything is kind of like seamless. And that way it could just be our next steps to figure out where we go from there. Dr. Avery and then Mr. Trey Garcia.
It's a little confusing because you're not identifying policy in your agenda items that you created. So you need to be able to give, the bylaw or the policy number. You need to provide a current policy and a revised wording of the policies it just makes it so much clearer and easier to follow
I
when
can
you're
do that.
trying to make the comparison. And once things are changed, then we have the old policy and the revised policy that should go to the full board. So you can have a couple of iterations of old, consideration. And then when you get to the full board, whenever it's approved, then you can come back and bring that second and third draft back for final. It's just right now, we're looking at so many different,
Mhm.
iterations of it, and it's confusing. So if we can just at least do it that way, and have a consistent way of moving forward with what we're gonna do. When we get a new policy, here is, if we have an existing one, here it is. We have a CAVE recommendation policy, here it is. We make those recommendation changes and we bring it back for the discussion. It just makes policy development easier. And I've done it in the past in other capacities, and it just works so much better as a recommendation.
No, absolutely. I apologize that I didn't know that because the way she did it now, she identified each policy, but we should have had it.
Yeah.
Right here. We'll work on that.
Yep.
Together. So thank you. So to answer to the question is yes. Okay. So item number 3, discussion and possible. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Traver. Yes, thank you very much for. Go ahead.
Notwithstanding what Dr. Avery just said, I was just, based on what I've heard tonight, going to suggest that not just sending it to us, but sort of, we're working as a team here and sort of the administration is also trying to come up with a coherent or cogent draft that we can work with. So
Yeah, that's
if,
gonna be
if we're working across purposes, we're not gonna get anywhere faster, so.
Mr. Chair, just for clarity on that too, because we may have recommendations to the board as well, and then we may be able to meet in the middle so that we can get some clarity.
It would behoove us to get your recommendations on language so that that working document, Danielle had given us a policy, the bylaws and policy drafts to work off of so that we can see the existing language and the changed language. So if we start working off of that in our drafts, in your drafts, then we can start seeing what you want us, what you see, we see. And then we're all on the same page, so to speak.
Yeah, that's what Mr. Mendes was working on, and that's why
Yeah.
we suggested
So,
it.
yeah,
back in the
I'm
September
saying that
16th.
insofar as you guys are now looking at it that way, when you can flag problems or flag suggestions that you think it would be, will get us sort of more pulling together more quickly versus here's what we got, guys, what do you got? You know,
And that was my concern going in, because I couldn't even give you a recommendation because there was just so much going on.
just save us a step.
Yeah, it just saves a step, exactly.
Ms. Jimenez?
I just wanted to say when I reference, I'll send it to you guys. I think it was in the last meeting. Dr. Avery made the point people I work with on his cabinet, Danielle and Dr. Ciano. So we have a locked file that only all three of us have the password to, and only all three of us can make edits to. So anytime, you guys have changes that you want me to incorporate, I can go in and do it from the board side, but then they can do it from the cabinet side as well. So just wanted to mention that.
Yep.
Dr. Avery can't get in.
No.
I can't get in. I need to be on that list as well. Please.
I'll
Danielle?
send you the password.
Danielle, go ahead. I see your hand.
There she is.
She says no. Thank you, Danielle. Got your comment. Now, go ahead, Ms. Danielle, please.
Hi. No, I just want to clarify that any changes are all being redlined. If I've made any changes, I think I uploaded one in there that I just put draft on it. To clarify that this was a draft document, but all changes to the original document are being redlined.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing, right? Like if.
In that working document, because it's not the other one stays standing until it's voted up on the board.
Right.
But we want to make sure I want to make sure that it was clear, the request and suggestion and requirement that Dr. Avery also is included on that document that can make those changes and bring those recommendations to us.
Yeah, so the document will show anyone who's made changes then too.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
want to
but
make sure because
I don't have access to it, Danielle.
I
Yeah,
want to make sure
well,
that,
Yeah, I'll have
If I
Maritza,
may.
you'll give him access because you set that all up.
He just needs the password and
Okay.
I can send you the link to where the document lives.
Oh, yeah, that would be great if you could send us that link because you just sent it in an email.
and make sure Dr. Avery has that
Yeah.
password, Ms. Jimenez, please.
Danielle, it's the policy folder that you dumped
You're-
all the policies to.
Okay, so you're
That's-
working in that folder?
I can't work in that folder because it's only read only. So anytime I have a change, I make the change and then I email you the document to be put in there.
So again, let me
Okay.
just, let me make sure you ladies can get together at your leisure time. So
Yep.
that's the document, Danielle, that needs to, be that Ms. Jimenez has, permission right through there. She shouldn't have to do it somewhere else, to do it right through there. And it's yourself, Ms. Jimenez, Dr. Ciano, and Dr. Avery that should have that password to be able to make changes.
I'll work with IT and we'll get a SharePoint that it's in because she won't have access to a public folder where that
Perfect.
she couldn't upload stuff.
Perfect. Ms.
Okay.
Jimenez, just report back to me that way I know that it's done, that we can just continue. I don't want no roadblocks. Thank you.
Okay,
Ms.
thanks,
Dr. Avery.
guys.
Also, Ms. Jimenez, can I also recommend that you send me or send the team the copy of the recommendations from Kay that you keep referring to Kay made the recommendations? Can you send those to us as well?
Your mic, Ms. Jimenez, please.
Sorry. Yeah, I can send those to you after this meeting, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just for reference, what I just mentioned, Mr. Jimenez, let's just make sure that we always CC if the nail is receiving it because it was a recommendation for reading, then we make sure we CC Dr. Avery and Mr. Ciano on it. It just helps if they want to read it, they can read it. If they want to comment, they can comment. Just because Dr. Ciano is our extended arm to the cabinet with Dr. Avery. So thank you. Item number 3, discussion and possible revision for referral to the full board of the following policies. And this was P3011, internal controls. Yes?
So I apologize for not doing what we just talked about, but I have a copy. So I went through my notes and Mr. Sokolovic had proposed a quick change to paragraph 5 in the policy. The discussion was about if, let's say hypothetically, the board chair and the superintendent are both engaged in fraud, this policy limits a report from the public to the board chair. So you were discussing including language that it could be reported to any board member. So I just drafted a quick proposed language, if you wanted to look it through, that says in the event of a concern or complaint involving the superintendent, the concern shall be brought to the attention of any member of the Board of Education. Upon receiving such a concern, that board member shall promptly notify the board chairperson. And then it continues with the board chairperson shall be empowered to contact the board's legal counsel, insurance agent, auditing firm, or any other agency. So it just addresses the discussion that you all had a couple weeks ago about allowing people to report to any board member, but still preserves that chain of command that once a board member learns about it, they report it to the chair, who's then empowered to follow any legal pathways that you might come up with. So it's just a thought. I realize that we'll get better at the policy and showing you some draft language, but this seemed like a quick fix for today. It seemed to address some of the concerns and the discussions that you had. And it doesn't really fundamentally change the policy. If there's fraud going on, somebody can report it. And then you would just agree to follow your chain of command on the board to get that reported and be able to move on to the next step if you need to.
Have we had a question? No? Other comments? Again, he read it word for word. So if there's no discussion, hello, good evening. I want to note that Chair Ms. Jennifer Perez has entered the room. And just to include her right away in something, I wanted to read this that way. Oh, thank you, sir. We are in number 3, Ms. Perez. We were just discussing if possible revision to be moved to the full board on 3011 internal control. And it was a subject about how it was said, if there's anything happening with the superintendent, who does it report to? And before it was just specifically only to the chair, and then they will have the power to move forward. The new possible revision that was presented by Dr. Ciano is as such in front of you. I'll give you a couple of seconds. But is there any discussions about that, comments or anything? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to move policy 3011 internal controls as revised to the full board for consideration of adoption, bypassing first and second reading.
A second. Any other discussion? Seeing no hands, all in favor, say
Aye.
aye. Thank you. The motion passes, bypassing first and second read
Can I clarify? That would be Monday night,
to the full board. Excuse me.
from Monday night, Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Sorry, Tuesday, sorry.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna go to the next meeting, yeah. Yes, sir.
I don't think it'll be extensive.
It would always go to the very next one, but yes, I have Ms. Danielle. Thank you, Ms. Danielle, thank you. Next item up, discussion, item number 4, discussion and possible revision for referral to the full board of the following bylaws, and that is 9110, code of conduct for board members, parentheses, board decorum. Ms. Perez, were you speaking on that one? Okay. No? Anybody speaking on that one?
But the one that we just put an addendum to the bylaws, spelling out what we should be doing as per Robert's rules anyway.
Are you asking me? Oh, sorry.
No, that's a general question, just a general question, make sure I'm on the right thought.
So you did have discussion tonight about 9160. But I don't believe you had discussion about 9110.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure we stay at 9110, because that 9160 is the next one. Yes, we did have discussion on 9110 through, no, not 9110.
You had discussion on 9160, the meeting,
Yeah.
that public address.
That'll be
I
the
don't
next
think
item.
You've had
Yeah.
discussion yet on 9110.
That was,
So I just want to be sure that I'm correcting what we're discussing. This is the one that was like, basically was telling us how to play nice, don't do this, do this, do that, do that.
Mhm. Yep.
And I pointed it out then, I'll point it out again now. That's something we already should be doing.
Mhm.
It's already codified in Robert's Rules of Order, which is our bylaws. So the state are guiding us. Unless the bylaw supersedes that, the problem has never been not having rules around our quorum. Problem's been not following rules. Once again, dropping the ball as a board with enforcing those rules, even upon our own selves. It's just something we gotta get better at. Can't legislate ourselves out of bad behavior.
well, here, no discussion or anything like that. There's no motion on the table.
I think I was spending.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I mean, do we have that on 9110 in our? In a on the tablet, you know, in the purple
Packet.
package, sorry. Because
There's
I
gonna be
don't
no
see-
motion right now. At this
Okay.
moment, so we're gonna just proceed.
All right, thank you.
Next agenda is item B, theorem number 4 will be 9160, meeting conduct and public address. We spoke a little bit about this already. In agenda item number 2, through line number F. Thank you. I was right. Yeah. So
I would,
let's discuss.
I would like to make a motion to move that for full board. For a first read. And decide once and for all. And we're gonna have a 3-minute public comment for 45 minutes. And 30 minutes. At the special meeting respect. So just put it down, I would just make a motion to put it down for first read. And then let's just get it moving.
I second. Any further discussion? We'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That passes. If there's no other matters at this moment, I think I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I
Second.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh,
Aye.
thank you.
No,
Thank you. Meeting adjourned. It is now 7:55. Good evening, folks. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Menace. Thank you, Mr. Woodson. Thank you.
Night.
What is that?
I mean, it's your.
Thanks, sir.
Have a safe flight, like we usually do.